Father Henry was alone in his Vatican study when his heart stopped. But death didn't end his story, it began it. Moments later, he stood before 13 radiant beings who showed him the Vatican's most guarded secret. The next pope would not bring salvation, but deception. A false prophet would rise, leading millions into darkness. And behind him, the Antichrist waits. Now returned from beyond, Henry carries one mission: warn the world before it's too late. Here is his personal testimony.
My name is Father Henry. I have served in the Vatican for most of my life. I loved the Church with all my heart. I followed the rules, obeyed the leaders, and believed I was doing God's work. Every morning, I walked the same marble halls. I prayed. I studied scripture. I met with bishops. I handled old books and documents, some hundreds of years old. I lived inside the heart of the Church. I trusted everything around me. I believed we were safe. But something started to feel wrong. It began quietly. Meetings were being held more often. Some priests I knew well stopped speaking openly. I saw old, sealed documents being moved from the archives. Others said nothing, but their eyes told a different story. Something was happening. Then I heard the whispers. Some said the Pope was dying. Others said the Church was preparing for a major change. I brushed it off at first. Popes come and go, I told myself. But this felt different. That evening, I sat alone in my study. It was late. The halls were quiet. I was going over a set of very old records that had been recently unsealed. I don't know why they were sent to me, but the names and dates made me pause. There were notes about past popes, strange symbols, and a list of names I didn't recognize. I felt something stir in my chest. Not fear exactly, but a deep unease I couldn't shake. Then, everything stopped. A sharp pain hit me in the center of my chest. I tried to stand, but my legs gave out. My vision blurred. The room spun. I fell to the floor. My head hit the corner of my desk. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The light above flickered and went out. I remember staring at the ceiling, trying to pray, but the words wouldn't come. I felt myself slipping. My body grew cold. My heart slowed. And right before everything went black, one thought echoed in my mind. This can't be it. But it was. Or so I thought. At first I thought I had blacked out. But then I realized I was still aware. I could still think. I could still see. But everything felt wrong. I was floating. I looked down and saw myself lying on the floor. My body was still. My face was pale. My eyes were open but empty. I stared at it confused. That was me, but I wasn't inside it anymore. I tried to move closer to step back into my body, but I had no feet. I had no hands. I was just there. I called out, but no sound came. I felt panic rising inside me. Was I dead? It didn't feel like what I had imagined. There was no bright light, no tunnel. Just stillness. Then the room began to fade. The bookshelves, the desk, the walls, they all started to melt away like smoke. The floor disappeared beneath me. I reached for something to hold onto, but there was nothing. I was in a vast space, completely formless. There was no color, no shape, no time. It wasn't dark, but it wasn't light either. It just was. I was alone, floating in nothing. My thoughts were loud, but the space around me was silent. Then I felt it. Something was moving toward me. I couldn't see it, but I felt its presence. It was strong. Not evil, but powerful, too powerful for me to understand. Suddenly, I was pulled. Not slowly, violently. A force yanked me forward like I was being dragged by something invisible. I had no control over it. I tried to fight it. I tried to pull away. But it didn't matter. I was going, whether I wanted to or not. The space around me twisted. I couldn't tell if I was falling, flying, or being thrown. It felt like everything I knew was being stripped away. I had no idea where I was going. But I knew one thing for sure: I was no longer part of the world I came from. And someone was waiting for me on the other side. The light around me settled and I found myself standing in a massive hall. But it wasn't made of stone or wood. It was made of something living, light, sound, and something else I can't explain. In front of me stood 13 beings. They were tall, silent, and shining. Each one glowed with its own color: gold, blue, violet, white. Their light moved like waves, calm but alive. I felt their eyes on me, though they had no faces. I was completely seen. Every thought I had ever had. Every word I had ever spoken. Every choice, good or bad. They knew it all. I should have felt afraid, but I didn't. I felt small, yes, exposed, but not judged. Then one of them stepped forward. The air changed around me, heavy, still. Without moving its mouth, it spoke into my mind. "You have served the house of God," it said, "but not the truth of God." The words cut deep. I had given my whole life to the church. I had prayed, studied, obeyed. I had believed I was doing right. But now, standing in front of these beings, I understood. I had missed something. Tears filled my eyes. What did I miss? I asked. The being didn't answer with words. Instead, the hall around us shifted. The other 12 stepped back. A new light opened in front of me, like a doorway. "See," the voice said again, "and understand." The light grew brighter. My chest felt tight. My feet lifted off the ground again. I was about to see something I was not ready for. But I stepped forward. I had to know. I was inside the Vatican again. But this time it wasn't a memory. It was something more. I was being shown what was happening in real time. The halls were quiet, but not still. Men in long robes whispered behind closed doors. I moved through the walls like air. They couldn't see me, but I could see them. A group of high-ranking officials sat at a long table. Ancient documents were spread out before them, some written in Latin, others in languages I didn't know. I recognized one of the men. He was close to Pope Francis. Then I saw Francis himself, lying in bed. He looked tired, weak. His breathing was shallow. He was dying. They knew it, and they were already making plans. But something felt wrong. This wasn't prayerful. This wasn't sacred. This wasn't about finding a man of God. It was about control. The next pope was being chosen, but not by the Spirit. He was being selected like a piece on a chessboard. One name kept being repeated. I couldn't hear it clearly, but I felt the weight behind it. A chill ran through me. I turned to one of the documents. It had a symbol I had seen only once before, hidden deep in the Vatican archives. A circle with a line through it, surrounded by flames. I remembered then. It had been labeled restricted prophecy. And suddenly, I knew what I was witnessing. They weren't just choosing a new pope. They were unknowingly preparing the world for the false prophet. The one who would look like light, but serve darkness. I stumbled back from the vision, heart pounding. This wasn't just a message. It was a warning. The vision shifted again. I was no longer in the secret rooms of the Vatican. Now I stood in a massive public square, filled with people. Cameras flashed. Flags waved. At the center was a man dressed in white. He stepped forward onto a balcony. His arms were open. His smile was gentle. His voice was calm and full of charm. The new pope. I listened carefully. At first, his words sounded good: peace, love, unity. But the more he spoke, the more I noticed something was wrong. He never said the name of Jesus. He never mentioned the cross. He spoke of light, but never said where the light came from. He talked about how all religions should come together, how there was no one true way, how sin was just a misunderstanding. The crowd cheered. People around the world were watching. I saw them on screens, nations, cities, even churches clapping, celebrating. But I felt sick. This wasn't unity. This was erasing truth. He was building something new, a religion without conviction, a faith without Christ. He told them that God is whoever you want him to be, that all paths lead to the same place. He said, "Let us no longer divide ourselves with doctrine. Let us walk as one under one faith." And they believed him. Millions followed him blindly. I saw churches remove their crosses. I saw Bibles being changed. I saw holy words being edited to match his new message. It wasn't obvious at first. It looked like kindness. It looked like progress. But it was a lie. He was leading them away, not with anger, but with false peace. And then I understood. This was the beginning of the great deception. The false prophet had risen, and the world was celebrating. Then I saw him. He stood at a distance, just beyond the crowd, just outside the light. He didn't speak right away. He didn't need to. His presence said enough. A shadowy figure. Strong. Calm. Watching. I didn't know his name. But I didn't need to. I knew exactly who he was. The Antichrist. He didn't wear a crown. He didn't carry a weapon. But world leaders stood beside him, heads lowered. Some shook his hand. Some smiled with pride. They welcomed him. They honored him. He hadn't taken power, he was being given it. And then he spoke. His voice was soft, but it carried across the world like thunder. They will not resist me, he said. They will worship me. A cold wave hit me. He didn't say it with hate. He said it with certainty, as if it had already been decided. And maybe it had. I looked around and saw people clapping, weeping, reaching out to him. He promised them peace, security, hope. But his eyes told the truth. There was no love in him. Only control. And they didn't see it. They didn't want to. Churches hung his picture. Schools quoted his speeches. Governments passed new laws in his name. He was everywhere. And still, no one asked who he truly was. The false prophet had opened the door. And the world had stepped through it. I tried to move. I wanted to scream. But I was frozen. He looked straight at me. I felt him see me, not just my body, but my soul. He smiled. He knew I had seen the truth. But it didn't scare him. It pleased him. Because he believed it was already too late. And maybe it was. The vision changed again. I was no longer in the crowd. I was above the earth, looking down as if from the sky. But this wasn't a peaceful view. It was filled with signs, real ones, not metaphors. The beings beside me didn't speak, but I could feel them guiding my eyes. First, I saw the Euphrates River. Once wide and strong, it now looked cracked and empty. The land around it was dry, like it hadn't seen water in years. I remember the words from Revelation. The great river Euphrates will dry up. And there it was. Then the vision shifted. I saw rivers in different countries turning red. Not just muddy or polluted, red like blood. People gathered around them, pointing, recording with their phones, but no one understood what they were seeing. Another shift. I was in the desert, a place I knew shouldn't have snow. But it was covered in white. Heavy blizzards were falling in places that had never known cold. The sand was buried under ice. It didn't make sense, yet it was real. And then I saw Israel. I was standing near the Temple Mount. A group of men in white robes were gathered around something sacred. My heart stopped when I saw it, red heifers, perfect in form. They were preparing them for sacrifice. This wasn't theory. This wasn't in the future. This was happening now. All the things the prophets had spoken, they were unfolding before my eyes. The beings didn't need to explain. I knew what I was being shown. We were in the beginning of the tribulation. The timeline had started. The pieces were moving. And most of the world had no idea. They were watching the news, going to work, scrolling through their phones, and missing the signs completely. I felt a deep ache in my chest. This wasn't just about the Vatican anymore. This wasn't just about one leader. The entire world was moving toward the end and still asleep. I looked to the beings. What can I do? They didn't answer with words. But I felt it. My time here was ending. I stood still, overwhelmed. My eyes were fixed on the scenes I had just witnessed. The drying river, the red waters, the snow in deserts, the sacrifices in Israel. Everything inside me wanted to stay. I needed to know more. I needed more time. I turned to the beings of light. My voice trembled. Please, I said. Let me stay. I'm not ready to go back. They didn't speak with anger. There was no harshness in them. But their answer came clear and strong, as if pressed into my very mind. You must return. You must warn them. The words hit hard. I stepped back, my legs shaking. But they won't listen, I said. No one will believe me. Still, they said nothing else. Just silence and that heavy feeling in the air. Like something was about to happen. Then it began. It was like being caught in a wind I couldn't see. A violent pull dragged me backward. The light around me cracked. The beauty, the stillness, the peace. All of it ripped away. I screamed, but no sound came out. My body twisted. Not in space, but in something deeper. Spirit, soul, whatever I was made of now. And then weight. Heavy, crushing weight. Pain. 1,000 needles in my chest. Fire in my lungs. I felt my arms again, my legs, my skin. But it all hurt. My back hit something hard. My ears rang. I tried to breathe but couldn't. My mouth opened wide, gasping. Then air. I sucked it in like I was drowning. My eyes snapped open. Blurred lights. Voices yelling. Cold hands on my arms. Machines beeping. I was back. I was alive. But I wasn't the same. I felt the world around me like it was made of paper. The ceiling above me felt too low. The voices too loud. I had seen what most people will never see. And I had been sent back. Not because I deserved it, but because someone had to speak. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a hospital bed. Machines beeped next to me. A nurse gasped and called for the doctor. Within seconds, a group of people in white coats surrounded me, speaking quickly, checking numbers, shining lights into my eyes. One of them whispered, "He shouldn't be alive." Another said, "We lost him." For minutes, no pulse, no breath. They kept repeating that word, minutes, as if I had only been gone for a short time. But I knew what they didn't. I hadn't just been unconscious. I had been somewhere else. I had been shown the truth. When they calmed down, I tried to speak. My throat was dry, but I forced out the words. "I saw something. You need to listen to me." They leaned in. But as I told them about the beings, the visions, the warnings, they backed away. One doctor nodded slowly and said, "It's common to have vivid dreams during trauma." Another smiled politely and added, "It's the brain's way of coping." They didn't believe me. No one did. Even friends from the church, when they came to visit, listened with kind eyes but gave me the same look I had seen in the doctors. The look people give when they don't want to say you're crazy. But I wasn't. I was clearer than I had ever been. The world around me felt distant. Everything seemed smaller, like a painting of real life instead of the real thing. People rushed around, busy with phones, work, small talk. But all I could think was, don't they see what's coming? They didn't. So I decided, even if they laugh, even if they turn away, even if they say it was just a dream, I have to speak. Because someone needs to. And maybe, just maybe, someone will listen. Before this happened, I thought I knew what death was. I had given last rites. I had comforted the dying. I had preached about heaven. But I didn't really understand. Not until I died. Now I know death is not the end. It's not darkness. It's not silence. It's not sleep. It is a door. A moment where everything you thought you knew falls away. We are not bodies with souls. We are souls living inside bodies. And when the body fails, the soul steps forward. I left my body. I saw it. I felt no pain, no fear, only truth. Everything I had done, every word I had spoken, every moment I had ignored or treasured, it all mattered. There is no such thing as just a small action. There is no such thing as no one will notice. Someone always notices. The realm I entered was full of purpose. Structured. Ordered. Nothing was random. Every choice had weight. And yet, so many of us drift through life without thinking. We chase approval. We fear failure. We hide from truth. And above all, we fear death. But the fear of death is a lie. It is a tool. It keeps us small. It keeps us silent. We are told to obey, to stay in line, to not ask questions because one day we will die. But I died. And now I see. We must stop living like this is all there is. We must live as if we are preparing for something greater because we are. Eternity is not far away. It's right beside us. We just don't see it until we're forced to. So don't wait for death to wake up. Open your eyes now. Live with purpose. Live with truth. Because everything you do, every single thing, will echo beyond this life. The deception has already started. You don't have to look far to see it. The church I served for years is changing. Quietly, slowly, but deeply. Words are being softened. Truth is being reshaped. And people are calling it progress. But I've seen what's really happening. I've seen what's coming. Prophecies are being fulfilled right now. The Euphrates is drying up. Israel is preparing sacrifices. Strange signs are showing up in the sky and in the ground. These are not accidents. These are warnings. And behind it all, the Antichrist is getting ready. He is not coming with fire and war. He is coming with charm and solutions. He is coming with peace that has no truth. And the world will welcome him. Because they won't see him for what he is. They will say he is hope. They will call him light. But he will be a shadow that covers everything. And the worst part? Most people won't care. They'll keep living the same way. Distracted. Entertained. Numb. But I won't stay silent. I was sent back for a reason. I was shown the truth and I was given a task. Warn them. Speak. Do not be afraid. So I ask you now, if God could not come today, and he sent you instead, what difference would you and God make? Would you stay quiet? Would you blend in? Would you keep your head down and hope someone else speaks up? Or would you stand? Would you wake people up, even if they didn't want to hear it? Would you live with purpose, even if it cost you everything? You don't need to be a priest. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to care. The time is now. Not someday. Not later. Now. The world is being led down a path, and you have the chance to turn around, to grab someone's hand, and say, "This isn't right. We need to go back. I've done my part. I've told you what I saw. Now the question is yours to answer. Will you wake up before it's too late?